Hello and welcome to episode 65 of PubShorts, titled Trust, named after the famous song by The Cure. Hi, Tony.
I,
Mighty.
I'll take your word for it, Keke. I'm sure it's one of the few songs that we've talked about. I don't really know. I know the Cure. Of course, I know the Cure. They're a very very famous UK group, but I've never really followed them.
Yeah, I love Cure, especially they had this one, I think, late 90s acoustic, fully acoustic album. I love that album. Anyway, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Dr. KK. I'm the Innovation Officer at Trinka and at Inago. And Tony, please introduce yourself, the show,
Yeah.
and why we have labeled the show, the title of the show, Trust.
So I'm Tony O'Rourke. I'm Vice President for Partnerships here in Inago. I work with universities. Well, I actually work mostly with publishers and societies, but also with universities in terms of how we integrate our AI services. Um, so PubShots is a PubShorts. Stop calling it PubShots. PubShorts is a regular episodic broadcast podcast that KK and I do, where we discuss topics that relate to the world of research communication, whether it's technology, copyright, licensing, law. We cover topics, recent articles that have appeared in the important trade press
Mhm.
that we can share with you, the viewer. And this is episode 65. And if you want to find all the previous 64 episodes and spend days of fun listening to KK and I talk about the development of research communication,
Yeah.
you can find us on the Unago channel and search for the PubShorts playlist, and you'll be able to like, share, send, comment on all
Yeah.
previous 64 episodes.
Yeah. And the Inago channel is on YouTube. And Tony, why are we calling this Trust?
Because yeah, this is a time where trust, more than anything else, trust markers are so important,
Yeah.
that the publisher can trust the researcher, that the funder can trust the research organization, that they're abiding by rules,
Hmm.
that the university's employee can trust their doctoral staff and their staff to be open and honest, and having show integrity in how they do their research.
Right, and one of the things that ensure that whatever research that you read is robust and trustworthy is being served by the institution referred to as a peer review, and we are covering a lot of stories related to peer review and automation. So let's start with the first story, and it is titled Peer and AI Review plus Reflection. It is PAIRR, pair, a human centered approach to formative assessment. So it's obviously a research paper, and I'm going to quickly read out what it is about. It focuses on the importance of drafting and revising for students, writers' growth. That formative assessment is crucial, but teachers often lack the time to give detailed feedback, and AI feedback can be effective, especially when used with assignment specific criteria. So combining peer and AI review can enhance writing support and reduce educational equity gaps. And this is a sort of approach that is coined in this paper itself. And what the main thing that they're talking about is this drafting of the students' assignment, then getting feedback and AI feedback, and the students reflecting on it and revising the drafts accordingly. So if you were to transport this to the context of academic peer review in journals, we would also have similar results, and this is why we are trying to build such systems in the AI peer review assistant that we are building, right, Tony?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We in fact we announced last year a tool called Peer Review Assistant, which won an award at a leading editors conference for innovation. And the whole idea there is to provide a workspace for the reviewer
Mm-hmm.
to either generate the review first using AI and use a human to validate that review, or for the human to create the review first, and for the AI to then to validate those answers.
Right.
We don't force that the workflow on anybody. The organization decides what comes first, the human or the AI. And at the moment, I think we're tending to go for human first, but we realise that there may be a need for both, because there is an absolute need to help to support the review process.
Right.
And we feel this tool is going to be a huge boost for anyone that's doing any kind of review, whether it's scientific articles, conference papers, reviewing a research proposal. This will help to identify what the key points are and what they need to be addressed.
Right. So, in relation to the use of AI in peer review, the Inago peer review assistant also has something called as the co-pilot, which basically helps you query the paper and gain a deep understanding of it. It's basically an AI-based chatbot. So, Springer Nature link has an article. It's under the AI and Society sub. What is it? The AI and Society is a journal. Yeah. It's titled "The Assisted Technology Dilemma: Reflection on AI chatbots use and risks while reshaping the peer review process in scientific research." Once again, it's a research article. So it talks about AI chatbots in academic peer review, which bring both excitement and concern. So risks and benefits. These tools can speed up the review processes and assist non-native speakers, which is a key aspect of using AI technology, because not every reviewer is a native English speaker, and most of published research is in English. Its
Yeah,
concerns include potential biases and the loss of expert driven evaluation. In the sense, what if AI is simply doing the review and experts are not paying attention? And ethical guidelines are needed, it states, the article states, are needed to balance AI capabilities with human expertise. And
yeah,
eventually, the paper calls for immediate action to develop clear guidelines for AI's role in academia, which is similar to what we discussed earlier. But the front and center point is, once again, that in the context of AI and peer review, we need human oversight with AI assistance. Right, Tony?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think the state of AI today. Yes, it can accelerate the peer review process, but you still need that human oversight to make sure that the conclusions that are being reached are the right ones.
Right, right, right. All right, moving on to the next article. It is again the theme is peer review. It is titled "Peer review is meant to prevent scientific misconduct, but it has its own problems." We know about the problems, but let's see what the article says. So, first of all, peer review is essential because it upholds the integrity of and robustness of published research. It is supposed to, at least, but it can be manipulated, Tony, and that's what this article covers. The peer review process is meant to catch research issues before publication, but it has flaws. So, some of the issues that are presented are peer review fatigue because of increasing volumes, and manipulation in terms of peer review, including let's say, irresponsible use of AI, non permissible use of AI. And some journals, Tony, have had to retract papers due to compromised reviews. And eventually, the improvement of the peer review process with transparent use of AI assistance with human oversight is important. Once again, we come to the same point, and one extra point that I gleaned from this article is that there's a recommendation that journals should broaden their reviewer pool and ensure consistent review criteria. We talked about consistency in AI assistance, terminology and classification in the last episode. Now we are also looking at consistent criteria across peer review as well,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
recommends something called as a strength based approach, which I'm not going to the detail, but anyway, if those interested can read the article. We provide the links of all the articles that we discuss in the description in our YouTube video. So, Tony, I'll pause here and I'll ask for your thoughts.
Yeah, the only comment I've really got to make on this is that we've just seen so many instances of papers being retracted because of um, issues relating to the peer review process, whether it's been inconsistent peer review, a poor peer review, biased peer review, whatever the reason is. So it's so important that tools are introduced which can remove that bias.
Right, right, right. Excellent. Talking about tools that help in peer review, we are talking about something called Socratique, and it is mentioned. It is the main thing that is used in this preprint published in archive. It is titled "Level Up Peer Review in Education: Investigating Generative AI-Driven Gamification Systems and Its Influence on Peer Feedback Effectiveness." So, my notes first. It is about improving peer review and education using a gamified system called Socratique. It uses generative AI to help students give better feedback in programming courses. So the study involved a controlled experiment with master's students, and it suggests that combining gamification and AI can enhance peer review skills in the context of obviously students. The randomized controlled design offers, in the study used, offers robust evidence of the intervention's impact, and real-time AI scaffolding can enhance feedback quality but needs checks to avoid over reliance. And we've talked about I think scaffolding in the context of peer review in previous episodes. It's a very good idea to present reviewers with a framework that they can stick to and they can be guided using. So I'm going to switch to the article and share a couple of things, but I would like to ask your thoughts regarding this. What do you think of what you have heard and seen so far?
This is another, I think, very positive and responsible use of AI to
Mm-hmm.
show how AI can be used in the development process, and how it can be in fact indeed encouraged
Right.
in the programming process. And it shows again the importance of human oversight as well, and human collaboration. It's not just the AI doing the work; it's um, the program and really managing that whole process. And I think there's lessons to be learned here also. How can this kind of approach be used in the peer review process, for example,
Right. Right.
in terms of training reviewers, making sure that their skills are as sharp as possible, and for trainers to be able to identify, and for reviewers to be able to identify when there's potentially flawed a review in place.
Right. So these are some screenshots presented in the preprint itself. So it seems like this is the text boxes in which a student would provide, let's say, feedback, and they would get AI sort of review of the feedback, and eventually it'll lead to improved feedback. That's the whole thing. And I just want to switch back to the paper and show you a table. So these are the gamification objectives with the dynamics and the mechanics. It's a fun read, and but the thing that I want to sort of bring us back in the context of academic peer review is that the academic peer review can also have some amount of gamification, at least some amount of AI assistance in terms of improving the reviewer comments, so that the robustness and the sort of quality of peer review is better, as well as the actual authors who get peer reviewer comments will get much more detailed, constructive commentary, which will help eventually improve the published paper. Right, Tony?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good approach.
Right. All right, moving on to the next article, which is titled "Co-reviewing, Fostering Reviewer Development and Transparency in Peer Review." So it's from Kaga Publishers. So the initiative is basically that Kagar is letting reviewers invite colleagues to co-review manuscripts. And this is with the aim to improve reviewer development and transparency. It is integrated into the submission system at Kagar itself, so it's easy to manage. And experienced reviewers act as mentors during the co-review process. And most importantly, Tony, co-reviewers gain recognition and can eventually join the reviewer database. And this is being applied to 14 journals in
Mm,
under Kaga. So it's a very good initiative. Mentoring and finding new reviewers is a big problem because of the volumes, as well as
absolutely. Yeah.
you need young peer reviewers to be mentored, possibly using AI assistance or human supervision, as in this case. Right, Tony?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think what they're recognizing the fact is that whether young reviewers are being approached all the time to be reviewers,
Right.
and often they don't have the support frameworks in place to be able to help them to develop their reviewing skills. So here's a publisher that's accepting that this is a reality, that finding reviewers is becoming increasingly challenging. Let's try and broaden the pool by asking our reviewers to invite talented colleagues that can be part of that process, that can learn early on in their research career
Mm-hmm.
how to be an effective reviewer, and have a mentor, have some kind of support throughout that process. So I think it's a very, very interesting initiative.
Right. And moving on to the last main story, it is another peer review related story. It's a feature article from the Science Editor blog. It is titled Reimagining Peer Review, a More Efficient and Rewarding Approach. So this is pretty much, it covers everything that we discussed, but I'll quickly read out. So it discusses the challenges and potential improvements in the peer review process, and it highlights things like reviewer burnout and the lack of sufficient reviewers with increasing volumes. And it proposes a peer review intelligence support module Prism framework.
Great name, another great name. Well done to whoever found that name. That's a brilliant name.
Yeah.
Prism.
To make peer review more efficient and rewarding, it integrates AI and immersive technologies to enhance reviewer engagement, and it includes tools like distraction-free environments, like deep reading and focus reading, that kind of a thing, and AI-driven support. And there's a mention of a two-phase process for efficiency and quality. And eventually, it sort of comes to the conclusion that AI should assist and not replace humans in the context of peer review, which is what we also believe in, and that's why we developed or we are developing our product, the Inago peer review assistant, which has won awards, as you mentioned, Tony, in
Indeed.
each episode. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So basically, this is an indication that everyone is thinking along the lines of how can AI be used responsibly within the peer review process, and how can AI be used to support
Mm-hmm.
the work of the reviewer. And I think this is just another excellent observation, and in terms of what can be done, and reinforces what we're already doing with the PRA.
Right. Tony, we are done with the main stories. Are you ready for quick hits?
I'm always ready for quick hits.
Are you ready for a controversial one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So we are. Wait, this is not the controversial. This is a controversial one, right? So this is a guest post in the Scholarly Kitchen written by David Green, titled "Preprints Serve the Anti-Science
David.
Agenda."
Yeah.
And this is why we need peer review. So let me read out the thoughts first, and before I ask you for your thoughts, it says basically that open access publishing is facing challenges due to rising costs, and peer review systems are broken, and we need. Wait, hold on. Did I get the right story? Hold on. Wait. Hold on.
That's the one.
This is the right story, right? Hold on.
This is.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm looking at the wrong note. Sorry. So it argues that preprints are contributing to the erosion of scientific credibility, especially when used without peer review. And
Yeah.
preprints are often mistaken for peer-reviewed articles, leading to misinformation. And only a small percentage of preprints receive comments or scrutiny, undermining their reliability. And it emphasizes the need for a robust peer review process to ensure scientific integrity. So, your thoughts on this, Tony? As in, the main argument is that preprints are serving the anti-science or pseudoscience agenda, which I think I disagree with. I don't know.
I also disagree. I think. I mean, I understand what David's trying to say, and clearly he's had. I think he must have had a negative experience of this as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but preprints, in my view, do provide an important role. As you know, I've worked in the field of physics publishing for a number of years, and in certain areas of physics publishing, the preprints are the first thing that the researchers look at in the morning. The last thing they look at when they turn the computers off at night.
Mm-hmm.
Archive was where you go to in areas like high energy physics, particle physics, astrophysics. The preprints that that will appear 3-6 months before the actual published article
Right.
is the first thing that the researcher refers to. Then there's a clear role for the journal itself. I think where what you're going to see happening over the next few years is work being done by preprint organizations to be able to reinforce the checks, the integrity of preprints, so that it may not be formal peer review, but in many ways the process of checking content can be just as there can be just as much scrutiny
Mm-hmm.
as in the peer review process itself, and I think that will only raise the quality, raise the bar for
Right.
preprints. I think we can see a lot more of that.
And are you referring to any AI automation in terms of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I mean, we've got our own tools. We have the Inago reports tools.
Mm.
We have we're building customized versions of Inago reports tools, which will allow for that kind of greater screening and greater scrutiny for any kind of content, whether it's a peer review, a preprint, it could be a conference paper, it could be anything that doesn't go through a formal peer review process, but still needs some kind of integrity checks to take place.
All right. Great. And the reason why I stumbled with my notes was that I forgot to open this link. I'm just opening it. Just a second. Okay, now it's dying on me. Hold on, just a sec. This is the link that I was trying to read the notes of. So this is a davidwarlock.com article. It basically discusses, I mean, it's titled 10 Reasons Why the Science Research Journal Has Passed Its Sell By Date. Interesting, phrase and interesting thoughts, actually. So, I mean, I'm not, again, going to go through the entire thing, but it discusses all the challenges, including the problems with open access peer review systems and, the use of bibliometrics and everything. And some of the things that are recommended in terms of improving are, integrity checking with the help of AI, automation and standardizing metadata, and eventually giving reviewers some recognition systems. And one last thing that I thought I should talk to you about is that David stresses the fact that machine to machine communication should be strengthened. And if there is information that another machine needs to read, it needs to understand what is the information that is needed with the help of metadata and the right languages and the communication protocols and everything. So Tony, I guess you enjoyed reading this. What are your thoughts on the problems and the solutions mentioned in this article?
Oh, look, David's a very, very, very knowledgeable chap. And what he summarised the kind of the questions that publishers ask themselves and have been asked themselves for the last 50 years. You know, yes, journals are slow. Yes, there's a cost associated with publishing, but the benefits of journal publishing still outweigh, I think,
Yeah.
the problems. And that publishers are investing huge sums of money in terms of improving publication times, supporting the review process, making content transparent, making content accessible. The way content is being used today compared to say even 20 years ago is incomparable. I mean, you couldn't even start to compare the numbers for how content is being used.
Right.
And I think I personally believe there is still a full role. Yes, it's got its challenges, and David addressed those very well, very eloquently. But journals have existed for over 350 years and continue to do so, and for very good reason, because they provide that trust, they provide that the integrity, they provide that security, that sort of comfort blanket that what's being published generally in the vast majority of cases is moving, or at least reflecting science or moving the science forward.
Right. Excellent points, Tony. I think it's a very nice encapsulation of what scholarly publishing stands for and why we are talking about peer review and ensuring integrity in the context
Yeah.
of peer review with AI assistance. A couple of quick hits remaining. So the first one is a article titled "Recent Drop in Life Science Preprint Posting Due to Capacity Problems at Research Square." So in summary, the Europe PubMed Central is the go-to tracking life for preprints, and there are so many preprints index. Research Square, owned by Springer Nature, saw a significant drop in preprint postings in early 2025. It seems that the decline is due to reduced screening capacity, which is being addressed. And on the other hand, bioRxiv submissions increased by 9.8, approximately 10% in the same period. So we just talked about it. Screening of preprints is essential, and we need to have AI assisted technologies to help the screeners to identify the bad preprints and flag them, at least, right, Tony?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's curious that I hadn't realised that the figures were falling at Research Square, because the number of postings, the number of papers, and number of preprints that are being submitted is increasing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find measures, you have to find ways of being able to do that screening. And I know, and screening's not a cheap process. At the moment it's lots of human intervention, but we're going to see more and more AI assisted intervention being introduced
Yeah.
into these processes over the coming months and years.
Right.
So I suspect they may change with research, where they may sort of see it increasing again as they're using more AI as part of their own processes, if they're not already.
Right. And coming to the last article, it's a quick hit. It's from the Scholarly Kitchen. It's titled "Rubber Ducking for Research Communication Why Explaining to Nobody Helps You Explain to Anybody." Interesting title. I think rubber ducking can be interpreted as a variation of "explain like I'm five." You have to simplify very simple, as in explain any complex concept in simple terms so that anybody can understand, so it becomes clearer. So it involves explaining research to an inanimate object like a rubber duck. It helps to clarify thoughts and improves communication. It forces, apparently, rubber ducking forces you to slow down and notice gaps in your logic, and it can be compared to cognitive behavioral therapy as well. It is low cost and low tech, and it requires no training. So Tony, do you recommend rubber ducking to anyone? I think that I should be rubber ducking when I'm trying to explain complex, I think,
Well,
academic publishing concepts to people at work, for example.
I think maybe for the next episode of PubShorts, we replace me with a rubber duck and see if the concepts are expressed more clearly than they are currently.
Well, I don't think I would get enough jokes from the rubber duck, so I'd prefer to have you on.
We always have them pre-recorded.
All right, so that brings us to the end of PubShots episode 65. So Tony, quickly, where can people find the previous 64 episodes of PubShots, and how can they
Yeah.
get in touch with us?
Well, as we always say, come and find us on the Inago channel on YouTube. And if you search for Inago PubShorts, you'll find all previous 64 episodes loaded there. So you have many days and weeks of fun watching those episodes. You can contact KK and I on LinkedIn, or indeed on you can contact me directly at tonio@inago.com. And I think also forgot to say on PubShorts on YouTube, don't forget to press share. Like the videos, or dislike them if you don't like them. We're really interested in your comments, and send us your ideas for future topics
Right.
for future episodes.
Yeah, and we'll see you in the next one. And until then, this is Dr. KK signing off on behalf of Tony, as well as the rest of the team that helps us support to bring such content to you. We will see you in the next one. Bye, Tony.
See you next one.